Hi, my name is Bridget Harris, and I'm a student at Pepperdine University, and I'm enrolled in the Graduate School of Education and Psychology. This is my final graduate research project for Pepperdine. My research paper is entitled Educating Adults, a Cognitive Approach to Understanding Adult Learners. As I proceed, I will first give my definition of adult learners. Second, I'm going to share with you my three research questions, and third, I will respond to these questions based on my methods of research and data collected. Last, I will wrap up and conclude my research of adult learners. So first, I think it is important to understand adult learners and know who the adult learner is. So as an educator, I have to be aware that my students will have a variation of backgrounds and knowledge. With this diverse group of backgrounds also comes different life experiences. Not all of my students will have strong academic backgrounds or any higher education at all. In fact, in this day and age, it will not be uncommon to have students that are completing their general ed development or their GED. This is why, to me, understanding and knowing the adult learner is important in the first steps towards becoming an adult educator. My research was driven by three main questions regarding the education of adult learners. Number one, what drives an individual to go back to school? In this question posed, I am including those individuals who also are entering into new training sessions in order to improve their professional skills. Number two, what is the key to instructing a diverse group of adult learners? To answer this question, I have reviewed two key interviews in which I met with a professor at multiple community colleges and an organizational development manager for a major corporation. I also will refer to the data that I have collected through online anonymous surveys. Finally, number three, what is the future of adult learners? I have to ask this question because, as we all know, technology improves every day and the economy is not looking up. This means that enrollment rates in further education facilities and professional training are indeed up. The methods of my data collection are as follows. And let me add that all names of people and places have been changed to protect the privacy of my research participants. First, I conducted two interviews. Number one was Paul Finley. He's an adjunct professor of multiple community colleges in San Diego County. And number two was Rhonda Naples, an organizational development manager for a major corporation. I also conducted a survey. I sent out 40 surveys to current full-time students who are at different levels in their education, as well as professionals currently in their career. Of the 40 surveys I sent out, only 26 responded. My statistical data will be based on those answers given by the 26 respondents. And finally, there was one observation that I made of a training session of 16 individuals in a major corporation. I had the opportunity to witness the interaction among the trainees, to witness the trainer-trainee interaction, and I was actually able to see the effect of the entire process on all of them as a collaborative unit. So first, let me talk about what drives an individual to go back to school. One of the questions in my survey was to list your current education status or background. As you can see here, the statuses range from an individual who did not finish high school to those students currently enrolled in a master's program. I have correlated this information with another question asking the participants to give a reason that they are currently enrolled or why they would consider re-enrolling in higher education. For example, a certificate program, into training for work, or into higher education. As you can see, the top three reasons, highlighted here in purple, were career-driven or occupation-driven, whether being a promotion or an overall change of career. And a close third was the continuation of lifelong learning. I looked at this response as taking the opportunity to gain knowledge of worldly views or to grow within a corporation. When I asked Paul Finley, the adjunct professor at community colleges, about the type of students he sees in his classroom, whether it be face-to-face or online, he responded that I have taught at 8 community colleges and I have taught online and face-to-face. I have taught Marines who were out to sea, students fresh out of high school taking summer classes before heading off to Stanford and other Ivy League schools, and I have taught people older than myself who were working on their GED. I have taught the students with drug problems, and I have taught those who don't care anything about learning but continue to show up to class because they will be cut off financially otherwise. And finally, I have taught the students who were crossing the border out of Mexico, who were the most gracious of them all, because all they were looking to do was to learn and improve their way of life. The diversity of his student history is immense. Based on the statistical results of my survey and my interviews, I find that yes, career is the driving factor for some sort of further education, whether it is an educational institution or training opportunity through their corporation. Overall, as different as students are, so is their reasoning behind continuing their education. Next research question. What is the key to instructing a diverse group of adult learners? When the survey participants were asked, what is the first thing you expect from your professor? The response varied, but 23% of the respondents said knowledge and another 19% said clarity. This response wasn't as diverse as I had thought, considering the difference in education status, age, or reasoning behind returning to school. Surprisingly enough, the professor and development manager were in agreement that they cannot teach the individual, but yet they have to actually teach the entire group. Rhonda Naples' approach to a training session comes in 3 ways. Number 1, she has to think, what is my overall objective? What do I want each individual to walk away from this training to know? What do I want them to carry with them in their professional setting? Number 2, what kind of experience do I want them to have? She has to consider, are we going to be doing a lot of activities? Are we going to have to take surveys or do other heavy paperwork? Should I have them laughing a lot? How am I going to keep them engaged? She said she is in an environment of people who are not so keen on the idea of training or even interaction in general. So she really has to consider how to make it a good experience for them, as well as make sure that these individuals don't ruin the experience for others. She also said that she cannot just cater to what the individual wants. She has to look at the bigger picture. She has to consider what the organization or corporation is actually getting out of her training. And finally, number 3, she has to consider the overall outcome of her training sessions and the evaluations that will be returned to her. Because, of course, this is a corporation, this is a business, and she has to keep her boss happy. Paul Finley at the community college stated that he approaches each class the same way as well. He looks at his profession as a teacher to not only teach science, but as lifelong building. He says to each one of their classes as they begin that I cannot teach you anything, but I can give you all the tools you need to learn and encourage you to use them. What you get out of my class is up to you. This says to me that the key to teaching a diverse group of adult learners is to have the knowledge to back up my subject, but to be aware of the diversity that makes up the class. With the knowledge and confidence in my subject, it will then be up to the individual what they get out of me and what they get out of my instruction. And finally, my last research question is, what is the future for adult learners? Furthering your education has become as easy as turning on your computer, so I felt it was necessary to ask my survey participants how comfortable they felt with online learning, whether or not they had previously taken an online class. 64% of the 26 participants had taken an online class, and yet only 53% of the 26 feel comfortable using the online method of learning. There were no major correlations to age range and comfort level, so I looked into the next question of preference of work ethic. 53% of my participants prefer to work as an individual. The majority of these responses were from the 24 to 29-year-olds, whereas the majority of people who preferred to work in a group were in their early 30s. Most interesting to me was that the 18 to 23-year-old age group and those in their late 30s did not prefer to work in a group at all. This raises further questions in my research. Is the next generation of adult learners who are equipped with ever-improving technology becoming self-learners, and phasing out face-to-face institutionalized learning. So let's sum it up. What does this all mean? In the presence of a failing economy, we are seeing a higher number of students in certificate programs. They are signing up for training sessions within their corporations, and they are enrolling in higher institutions. Based on my data, this is for the opportunity for promotion within their corporation or an overall change in career. When instructing these individuals, I need to be knowledgeable of the topic that I am teaching, and I need to be aware of the diversity of my students, but I don't need to focus on that diversity. And finally, in the ever-changing world, I need to be savvy of the advances in education, whether online or in a face-to-face classroom. I can only be the type of instructor that I choose to be, whether I am technologically savvy, an expert in my field, or sharing a new concept on how to make a professional more successful. I want to thank you for listening to my research. I have my entire paper online. If anyone chooses to read it, they can email me. I will attach my email to this presentation. Here is a special thank you to those of you around me who I couldn't have done any of this without. So thank you very much. And finally, let me leave you with a quirky little cartoon of our ever-changing world of education. Thank you.